All right, welcome in. The 49ers have made some of their key roster moves ahead of this regular season finale against the Rams. I think there's actually some interest in this because people are wondering how exactly the 49ers are going to play this game, given the fact that they want to rest some starters, obviously, but they also want to make sure that rust stays away. So let's take a quick look at the machinations combined with the moves that the 49ers have made. The first move that the 49ers have made is they've placed Ross Dwelley, the tight end who's been out for a while now, on the injured reserve list. So you'll see up here on your screen, Dwelley already shaded in pink because he was hurt on that 53-man roster. He will no longer count against the 53. We're going to move Dwelley over to IR. That is over on the right side of the screen. And he's, again, won't count against the 53. Those of you who are following along yesterday know that the 49ers already said they plan to move Ray McCloud up to the 53. They activated him from IR. So McCloud is activated. The 49ers have their punt and kick return specialist back from the rib injury, and Dwelley goes on IR. What does that mean for Ross Dwelley? Well, it means that he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks or 4 games. That means he won't be eligible to return until the Super Bowl. I think it is obvious that the 49ers have moved on to Braden Willis and Charlie Werner at the tight end position. Dwelley just wasn't needed right now on this team. And if somebody does get hurt here over the next couple of weeks and they do make it to the Super Bowl, maybe you see Dwelley come off of IR. But for now, he's on injured reserve. Ray McCloud is back. Next 2 moves that the 49ers have made, they have temporarily elevated Taylor Hawkins and Jeremy McNichols from the practice squad. So these are practice squad guys who get temporary nods for tomorrow. We'll shade them in green. Hawkins is a safety. This was very expected. I talked about this yesterday because the 49ers are so injured at the safety position. You could see Jair Brown is hurt. You can see Tashawn Gibson is hurt. Both of those guys are going to miss the game tomorrow. Talanoa Hufanga, George Odom already on IR. George Odom may be back by around the NFC Championship game. But for now, the 49ers only had 2 healthy listed safeties. That was Logan Ryan and Isaiah Oliver, and he's not even a listed safety. He's listed as a general defensive back, but Isaiah Oliver can play safety. He's probably going to be depth there. So they elevated Taylor Hawkins, who's a former college cornerback from San Diego State, who's been on the 49ers practice squad for a couple years now, has moved to safety in the NFL. Expect Taylor Hawkins to get the start tomorrow alongside Logan Ryan, with Isaiah Oliver acting as safety depth for this San Francisco 49ers team. The other elevation is Jeremy McNichols over here. We can now safely put Jeremy McNichols probably ahead of Ty Davis Price on the pecking order. I'm not going to do that at this very moment, but if he gets the nod over Davis Price, who's also on the practice squad, that means that you're going to see McNichols with McCaffrey already out. I shaded the players who are certainly out of this game in gray. The 49ers are bubble wrapping both Purdy and McCaffrey, but McNichols is going to join Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason in the 49ers backfield tomorrow. There's another questionable designation tomorrow. It is Kyle Juszczyk, who has an illness. The sickness is going around. It seems to have been going around the 49ers running back room because Elijah Mitchell was sick earlier this week. Elijah Mitchell, though, is healthy now. He's going to be the 49ers lead back tomorrow. But as you can see, Juszczyk with his illness, the 49ers do not have a backup fullback. So, they used to have somebody like Josh Hokett on the practice squad. That hasn't been the case for a couple seasons now. So Kyle Juszczyk, if he's not available to go tomorrow, the 49ers will be limited in their personnel packages. They won't be able to run their fullback stuff, or they can move a tight end into that fullback position, somebody like Charlie Werner. In the past, Ross Dwelley, ironically enough, had been the 49ers fullback when Juszczyk had been out, but Dwelley is on injured reserve now, so they can't go in that direction. Doesn't matter that much in a game that is meaningless as far as the standings go, but it is worth noting that the 49ers fullback is sick and may not be available tomorrow. Meanwhile, Jauan Jennings, he's not going to return just yet. Jauan Jennings still in the concussion protocol. This will mean 3 games missed for Jennings. Obviously, there is concern, but he is progressing through the protocol because Jennings did return to practice this week. So he was in practice in a limited capacity, which means that he's gone through at least some steps of that concussion protocol, but he hasn't made it through all of them. He's going to have now an entire 2 weeks to be ready for the divisional playoffs. So I think the 49ers are optimistic that Jauan Jennings will indeed be ready for them moving forward. Now, they also declined to put Danny Gray back on the 53-man roster. Gray's practice window has been open for a little while now. The deadline to close it is either now or next week, but obviously Danny Gray has fallen out of favor. The 49ers believe that they can make do with what they have at the receiver position, even if Jauan Jennings is out. So Danny Gray remains technically on injured reserve. So those are the 49ers roster moves. If you want to go through this on a position by position basis, what do we know so far? Well, we know who the 49ers inactive list is likely to be tomorrow. That because it's just been made for them. John Lynch talked about this on KNBR. He said, sometimes you have difficulty making an inactive list in a game like this. Who do you play? Who do you bubble wrap? But the situation here is the 49ers have enough injuries to be able to make an inactive list just based on the injuries. And I'll show it to you right here. Matt Barrows tweeted this, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier. But here are the 49ers inactives, what they're shaping up to be. Obviously, Brock Purdy, that was one of the decisions the 49ers had to make. Eric Armstead, though, out with the foot injury. They're going to target him for a postseason return. Christian McCaffrey, calf injury. They're targeting him for a postseason return, much less serious of an injury than Eric Armstead's. Tashawn Gibson's got the quad contusion, so he's going to be out for this game, but they're targeting him for a divisional round return. Jair Brown, knee sprain. There was talk that he might be ready for this game, but since it's a meaningless game, they're not rushing it. They're targeting him for a divisional round return. Ambry Thomas had hand surgery this past Tuesday. They're targeting him for a divisional round return. And Jauan Jennings is progressing through the concussion protocol, but it isn't all the way through it. So they're also targeting him for a divisional round return. So the 49ers are where you want to be as far as health in the postseason. Everybody's on target, I think, to be back by the postseason. And that's what matters. So for tomorrow, everybody else is going to be active, but the players that we just saw will probably be inactive. Juszczyk is an illness, waiting to see on that front. Ray McCloud returning allows the 49ers to give Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel a rest for the majority of tomorrow's game. You'll see a lot of Ronnie Bell and Chris Conley. At tight end, I think you'll see a lot of Braden Willis and Charlie Werner with maybe a little bit of George Kittle to start. At offensive line, Trent Williams, I listed him in green here because he will start, but you're probably going to see Jalen Moore come in sooner rather than later. Some Ben Barch at center, his first career action there. The 49ers have been working him in. You'll see Feliciano, Burford, and Banks divvy up the guard duties, and Matt Pryor will probably take over sooner rather than later for Colton McKivitz. Along the defensive line, you can run an easy swap. Farrell for Bosa, Givens for Hargrave, Gregory for Chase Young, and give Sebastian Joseph Day as much time as possible. Former two-gap player trying to work into that 49ers wide nine technique. Robert Beal also can play a lot tomorrow. You can swap the linebackers one for one. Winters, Flanagan, Foles, and Graham. And in the secondary, I said what the safety rotation is going to be. Womack and Darrell Luter Jr., I think, are going to see a lot of time at corner. And you know what? Maybe the 49ers can give Jake Moody a lot of kicks tomorrow because their offense has been so good that he hasn't really had a shot to develop this season. So we'll see what Jake Moody has. All right, talk to everybody soon.